Hi, my name is Joseph Rittenhouse. Welcome to the city of Mandalay. It's in the country of Myanmar, Burma. I wanted to share with you the feeling, the appearance, what it's like to be sitting here in my hotel room, my $20 a night hotel room that I haggled down to $20 a night. If you stay somewhere long enough, for a week or more, sometimes you can, instead of using a website to pay for the hotel, you can just pay them directly and they'll often give you a discount. My $20 a night hotel, I've spent a lot of time in situations like this, and I want to share with you this time, the situation which has been so important to me and so significant in my life. Time to sit quietly alone. When you sit quietly back home, say you're back home in America, in the United States, we like to go off into the forest, go to the desert, go to the top of a mountain and sit quietly. Maybe by ourselves is even better than with other people, where other people might distract us. And we notice that there's this sort of like resetting effect that takes place. Something resets in our body. We get out there, we see the Creator, the environment which created us, but yet it is us and we are it, because the Creator and the created are not separate, they're the same. And it kind of reminds us we don't really need that much to be in a state of bliss and to be happy, because look, here's the environment, the desert, the forest, it's already perfect like it is. You don't need to add anything, you don't need to take anything away. It has all the food you'll need, it has all the shelter you'll need, it has all the water you'll need, and like, wow, I kind of forgot about that. So there's a resetting effect when you go to nature. That's why we like to do it. That's why it feels good. I also notice when I travel to a faraway place, another culture, there's another psychological sort of disconnecting that takes place, psychological resetting that takes place. When you're looking at culture, the way people act all around the world is the same. Everything's the same everywhere you go. If you've seen one city, you've seen them all. Seen one place, you've seen them all. Essentially, people are the same, but yet we look so different. When I go to another country with another culture, I see the processes are the same. People going out, trying to find some income to take care of themselves. I see them some leisure time. I see them eating. I see them talking with their families outside. In that sense, it's the same, but everything else is different. And so, because it's so different, there's a sort of disconnecting that takes place. I want to say distraction, but yet, maybe that is the word. It's just so different that you don't know what to think of it, because it's not what happens back home. The way the people eat is different. The way they say thank you, or back home, I already know what someone's going to do. I know what someone's going to say. I know what someone's going to think, because we're the same culture. So when I come here, I feel so far away. Not only am I in a beautiful place, an interesting to look at place, but then also on top of it, I'm disconnected from the culture. So I feel a good sort of aloneness, a good sort of tranquility, space to think. I also like to be in a place where I can see the people, daytime. If it's nighttime, I wanted to show you the daytime, because if it's nighttime, I can't see the people, I can't see them doing things, I can't see the animals, I can't see the activity. During the daytime, you watch people, you think about what they're doing, you think, I'm like that too. I do the same thing. Why do we do that? So I like the daytime, to just sit here quietly. It's got to be quiet. Nowadays, there's a sort of sickness with this thing. I think that people use the cell phone as a distraction. If they don't want to feel scared, they'll look at this. If they don't want to feel nervous, they'll look at this. If they don't know what to do, they'll look at this. Sometimes not even doing anything on it. You look at what some people are doing on the phone, it seems like so like a waste of time. It's nothing important or significant. what they're doing, they'll forget tomorrow because it wasn't even that important. It's just easier to look at this thing that I know than to try to communicate or deal with what's going on out here. So this thing is a good distractor from life. It's easy for people to, I've done it too, where it's easier to just look at this, sometimes just touching it without even actually doing anything. It's good to have a quiet place where you can put that down, sit quietly. I've been in situations like this where I had a quiet place during the daytime, far away from home, far away from my culture, a couple of times in my life. Right now I'm doing it by choice because I'm retired, and I've found the benefits of being far away, isolated culturally and geographically from the place that I'm used to back home. When I first started working, when I was in Taiwan and in Mongolia, when I was 20 years old, and later when I was 28 years old, I would go to work teaching English. When I went home, I had a lot of quiet time to myself, and literally quiet time, because I was teaching English, and after about 6 hours, you can't talk anymore, and you will literally sit there quietly because you just don't want to make any noise with your mouth anymore. You're so tired here. Also, if you're teaching English, you have a lot of free time, because about 6 hours is the most you can do in a day. You're not doing 10, 12-hour days. Go home, sit quietly. This happened again when I was working in America as a bus driver. I worked and lived close together. I worked 10 minutes from work. So I was making good money as a bus driver instructor, and it was a 10-minute drive to home. I had tons of time to sit there quietly. And then now that I'm retired, because I've seen the benefits of having my quiet alone time, I now intentionally seek it out, because something good, something exciting has always happened after I had a lot of time by myself alone. When you sit quietly, you have to talk to yourself. You have to start asking yourself questions. You have to start looking at yourself. I think a lot of people don't like to do that. So that's why they like to keep themselves distracted. They get activity and action mixed up. Brian Tracy talks about how people want to take a lot of action, doing a lot of things. It looks good, and it might even feel good, but they're not necessarily taking much action. Action meaning working towards goals or plans that they have, or desires that they have. It's easier to just stay really distracted, really busy, going in circles. The book I just read called Vagabonding, he talks about how being busy can be a kind of lazy, because to be really busy, scattered all over the place, I don't have to use my brain to think, plan, ask myself questions, and plan. It's a certain kind of laziness. When you sit quietly, you start to ask yourself questions, and you start to have certain realizations. And it's these realizations, it's this foresight that I've had that is why now I intentionally make sure that I have time to sit quietly alone and just aimlessly think, sometimes using my imagination. A little side note about imagination. I'm still trying to figure out what imagination is and where it comes from. Tai Lopez, he talks about compartmentalizing. Also Picasso talks about the dichotomy of life. Have your leisure time. People like to say, I have my leisure time these 2 days, my work time these 5 days, then I have my vacation weeks at this time. They'd like to break up life into these different sections, which creates a kind of stifledness. Me, I intentionally try to break down compartments, and I try to break free of these mental barriers of, I can't do this because it's not that time. I can't do that yet. I can't do this Yet imagination kind of acts as an energy, as an oil to thinking, because imagination tells you, just let your mind go wild. I'll even show you an example that, what is this? Is this a hotel room in Mandalay in Myanmar? Some people would say, I am here taking a break to look around. They take the things too literally, but I like to have fun with it. I like to have imagination. Imagination says, this is my command center. I am the CEO of my company. I've used that analogy before. Your life, you are a company. You are the CEO of your company, but you kind of really are. But yet also I use my imagination to say, later my company will grow and will be bigger and bigger, but now I'm in my command center. It's like a spaceship. I'm orbiting the Earth. I'm looking down at the Earth and I'm making plans of where I'm going to deploy my resources, where I'm going to invest and grow wealth and opportunity around the world. Let's get to work. Let's take notes and plan. We need to think. We need to input ideas, culture, economics, psychology, communication, planning, reading. And you're like, wait a second. All that stuff was kind of made up. But what do they say about imagination? At a metaphysical level, imagination is the universe working through me. The universe created me. And I think Eckhart Tolle talks about this. I'm like the fingers of the universe. I am the universe discovering itself. The universe discovers itself through me. It created humans on the earth to create. God created us to create on the earth. How does that happen genetically? It happens genetically through imagination. Your imagination is going. And it will do some kind of crazy ideas. Some people would say that's crazy, but yet it's the possibility of where we can go as a species. My imagination wouldn't give me things in my mind that were not possible. If it was absolutely impossible, my imagination probably wouldn't be giving it to me. So I like to let the imagination go. Just let it break down the compartments and let it just oil the thoughts and let the thoughts grow. So I sit here in my command center for my life. What's the plan? Where are we going with this? I'm in charge. Get the pen out, get the notebook out, and let's start to plan. Little side note on imagination and what imagination means, but imagination does help. You sit here quietly, you start to ask yourself questions, you start to notice patterns, you start to notice you're 20 years old, 25 years old, 30 years old, 35 years old. You start to notice, I'm kind of like doing the same thing every year. I save up some money, I get a certificate, I do a training, I go to work. Then I save up some money, I do a certificate, I do some training, I go to work. It seems like there's this kind of same thing going over and over and over again. What that is you're starting to realize if you don't change, things won't change. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep getting what you're getting. You're starting to notice one of these principles. You're starting to catch yourself and notice that I'm not going where I thought I was going. Then you start to watch these people. They're doing great things in the world, exciting things. It seems like they're making some sort of progress with their expression. They're developing vehicles, rockets, airplanes, boats. They're making things happen, and you want to make things happen. You want to play. You want to play in the world. You want to make things happen too, right? It's fun. Let's have fun and play together. Then you start to realize that's because they did things differently, and the way I've been doing things and the results I've been getting are not changing. So you get the seriousness where you realize, and this only happens if you're sitting here quietly, you realize, oh, I'm going to have to do some things differently. You start to ask yourself questions. What do I have? You start to study economics. What am I? Well, I'm a bundle of skills, talents, and abilities. I have time. What can I do with my time? What can I do with my skills, talents, and abilities? Well, I can trade time for some work, and I'm going to get some money. And then you start to put things together. How can I make that money work for me, work on the side, and start to make me more money? Money is just freedom units. If I can get enough money working for money, if I can get that if I can get that goose that lays golden eggs for me every month, then I can get more freedom, which gives me more time to sit here quietly thinking, which lets me get 2 goose that lays 2 golden eggs per month. That's the metaphor, the goose that lays the golden eggs. That's a metaphor for investing. Then I can really start to invest in myself and really start to maybe make some change in my life. And that's what happened. I sit there when I'm teaching English, when I'm working as a bus driver, and now I intentionally make sure that I'm sitting around the world quietly with time alone. A lot of people say, "What are you doing, Joe? It doesn't seem like you're doing much." I'm doing a lot. I found out that if I do this, if I sit here quietly, great things seem to happen afterwards. Don't be afraid that sitting still, sitting quietly is you're going to fall behind or something like that. That's not how the universe works. And I've seen it so many times in my own life that you can't fool me with that anymore. If you tell me, well, you got to get to work. That's not how it works in the universe. A lot of activity does not equal action. Being busy can be a kind of mental laziness, being too busy. I've learned to just feel comfortable sitting still. Sometimes I sit still for days. Sometimes I sit still for weeks or months. It's not that you're not working. Aimless wandering is paying attention to everything. So you're aimlessly wandering through. You don't have to leave the country to do this, but you can just be aimlessly wandering on paper, writing things down. You could be aimlessly wandering on the internet, reading a little bit of everything. Hopefully it's something that would lead to, some economics or psychology or anthropology, something like that. Or maybe you're literally wandering throughout the world. But aimless wandering is paying attention to everything. I just wanted to share with you this time, this important time, sitting quietly. I think people need to spend more time sitting quietly without expectation of what's going to happen, without distracting themselves. Asking them questions, paying attention. Don't worry too much about the past. You are thinking about what's going to happen in the future, but at the same time, you're just fully here. You're right here, right now. Right here, right now, we make decisions about what's going to happen. Right here, right now, we make changes. We pay attention to the present moment, which gives us an energy and excitement right here, right now. You're not going to get any younger, and yet you're the oldest, most experienced you'll ever be. You're not going to be more experienced than you are right now. Right now. Right now. So you're not getting younger, but you're the most experienced you're ever going to be right now, because it's last year, plus the year before, plus the year before, plus the year before. So now you can make some exciting decisions about what you're going to do. Write down what you want and start to think about how you're going to get there. And that's how I started when I was teaching English. I said, things seem like they're not changing. What do I have? What assets, skills, talents, abilities do I have? What can I do with my money? Should I start a business? Should I sell a service or a product? From Mandalay, I will talk to you later. Good night.